Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, let's jump right in, because today we are tackling a subject that is often deeply, deeply misunderstood, and that is pediatric bullying and cyberbullying. You know, for a long time, society has looked at bullying through this incredibly narrow, outdated lens. We all picture that classic schoolyard stereotype, right? A bigger kid pushing a smaller kid for their lunch money. But as we're going to see today, that stereotype isn't just outdated, it's clinically inaccurate. And worse, it can actually prevent us from providing the real care these kids desperately need. So we're going to reevaluate this entire topic from a strict clinical perspective. We'll look at the hidden signs, the psychology on both sides of the dynamic, and the absolute critical interventions we need to keep children safe.
Here's our roadmap for today. 1. Forms and settings of bullying. 2. Decoding hidden somatic signs. 3. Understanding the child who bullies. 4. The cyberbullying frontier. 5. Nursing and community interventions. And 6. The critical safety priority. Let's get to it.
Section 1. Forms and settings of bullying. Beyond the playground. So to properly assess a child's safety, we first have to totally redefine what bullying actually looks like. The threat really breaks down into 4 distinct forms. Physical bullying, the hitting, kicking, pinching, tripping, that is just one piece of a much larger puzzle. We also have verbal bullying, which includes teasing, maybe inappropriate sexual comments, taunting, and threatening. Then there's social bullying. This is the purposeful exclusion, the spreading of rumors, and public embarrassment. And finally, cyberbullying, which involves digital harassment and spreading hurtful or false information. We have to realize that a kid might be experiencing severe, relentless bullying without ever sustaining a single physical bruise.
And that brings us to a really crucial question, one that kind of challenges our basic assumptions. Where does bullying actually happen? Because if we're only looking at the classroom or the recess yard, we are missing a massive part of a child's life.
The environments where a child is at risk, where a child is at, are actually really extensive. Yes, it happens during or after school, but it's also happening on the school bus. It happens while they're walking to and from school. It happens right in the child's own neighborhood. And increasingly, it is happening on digital platforms and during online gaming. When we broaden our perspective like this, we can see just how pervasive and inescapable this threat can be for a child. For a lot of these kids, there's literally no safe haven.
Section 2. Decoding hidden somatic signs. The body as a communicator.
When a child is trapped in that inescapable cycle we were just talking about, their psychological distress very often presents physically. This is known in the clinic as a somatic complaint. These are physical symptoms triggered by emotional distress, particularly when a child lacks the vocabulary, or honestly, the feeling of safety required to just directly disclose what they're going through. A recipient of bullying might show up at a clinic or the school nurse's office with recurrent physical issues, anxiety, or signs of depression. As healthcare professionals and caregivers, it is absolutely vital that we don't just treat that physical pain in a vacuum, and we absolutely must not dismiss these symptoms as mere attention-seeking behavior.
Just imagine an 8-year-old standing at the bus stop every single morning. They might not have the clinical vocabulary or the confidence to say, hey, I'm being socially excluded and threatened by my peers. But you know what they can say? They can say their stomach hurts. A recurring stomach ache before school is a concrete, sayable thing. Recognizing this pattern is exactly what prevents us from missing the true underlying cause of a child's suffering.
Section 3. Understanding the child who bullies. The empathy pivot. Now, this is a really crucial turning point in how we handle this. We have to make an empathy pivot. We need to recognize the perpetrator as a patient with unmet clinical needs, too. When you actually compare the risk factors between those involved, the overlap is striking. Recipients face low self-esteem, loneliness, anxiety, and those somatic complaints we mentioned. Meanwhile, perpetrators often exhibit conduct problems, academic decline, and, a lot of times, exposure to violence at home. But look at the critical shared finding here: depression. Both sides are suffering. Both sides have significant mental health and safety needs that require our attention.
Furthermore, there's this really vital intersectionality that we can't ignore. A child can actually be both a perpetrator and a recipient at the same time. The clinical reality is incredibly complex. Both sides require deep assessment, mental health evaluation, and genuine support, rather than just pointing fingers and handing out punishments. We really can't let our assumptions or our anger override an objective clinical evaluation.
Section 4. The cyberbullying frontier. The digital battlefield.
This digital battlefield completely changes how children experience harassment today. It's a whole new world. Cyberbullying takes place over cell phones, computers, and tablets. It infiltrates their gaming lobbies, social media feeds, and text messages. And the biggest game changer here? It's the 24/7 nature of the devices. The spreading of negative, hurtful, or false information causes just relentless embarrassment and humiliation. Because a kid carries their phone in their pocket, the bullying follows them right into their bedroom at night. There's absolutely no escape. And because of the speed and reach of the internet, threats here can escalate so fast and create immediate real-world danger.
Section 5. Nursing and Community Interventions, the Ecosystem Approach. So in this ecosystem, the nurse serves as a trustworthy clinical anchor and a coordinator of care. You are not just a school disciplinarian. This collaborative process starts with step 1. Always assess immediate safety. Are there active threats? Is the child in immediate physical danger? Step 2 is to foster a climate of safety and participation. Make sure that child identifies you as a safe, reliable resource. Step 3, you've got to involve parents, caregivers, and the broader school community, because this is not something you can solve in a silo. And step 4 is to refer them for a mental health evaluation, because bullying can be an early indicator of severe mental health struggles for anyone involved.
Our nursing approach actually has to shift depending on the specific child sitting in front of us. For the recipient, we listen without blame, we validate their very real concerns, and we assess their safety. For the perpetrator, we do not shame them. Instead, we assess their exposure to violence, we avoid humiliating them, and we establish clear behavioral limits while referring them for counseling. And for the bystanders, the rest of the school community looking on, we foster a culture of safety and promote prevention programs. The goal is to ensure that absolutely no child in this ecosystem is left without support.
Section 6. The Critical Safety Priority, Non-Negotiable Interventions.
Everything we've discussed so far is vital for long-term health, but we really need to pause here for a hard-hitting clinical rule. If a child, and I mean whether they are the one being bullied or the one doing the bullying, makes suicidal statements, shows signs of severe depression, or if there are credible threats of violence, it demands absolute, immediate intervention, no exceptions. You do not leave the child without appropriate supervision. You activate urgent mental health support right then and there.
I really want to reiterate this non-negotiable climax. Urgent mental health care supersedes routine school reporting every single time. You do not delay urgent safety care while you're busy completing routine school discipline paperwork or administrative investigations. The immediate physical and mental safety of that child takes absolute priority over everything else. So, I want to leave you with this provocative question to think about. Are you prepared to look past that outdated schoolyard stereotype to assess the true clinical needs of both the bullied and the bully? Once we truly understand those hidden somatic signs, the reality of the digital battlefields, and the shared pain on both sides of the dynamic, that's when we can truly intervene and save lives. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep this clinical perspective front and center in your practice, and I will see you next time.